Okay, so welcome again everyone to another workshop here at the test camp. This is FTCE, General Knowledge Test Mathematics, like it says right up here. This is the fourth of the 4 workshops for the GK. We're going to discuss how learning and practicing test skills will empower your test confidence. So those of you joining us live online, you're welcome to contribute your comments anytime. We're going to include them up here in the discussion boards. And if you join us on demand through the Test Camp YouTube channel, of course, you can pause and restart or replay that video anytime. We're here today again to talk about the GK, the General Knowledge Test. We suggested that you trained in this order because the first 3 tests were related to communication, and the competencies are built on each other in the sequence. This workshop for mathematics was a standalone computation test. Now, you likely know by now around here the motto is prepare, practice, then perform, and that's what makes us different. Everyone's successful because test taking is a skill, and they have a place now to come online and practice whenever they like. Now, we're the only place you can do that, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to prepare here today by understanding not only the test, but ourselves. You need to understand yourself, have an honest assessment of how well you know the test content, but also how well you know yourself and your testing skills. And we start by learning the test blueprint. If you participated in these other workshops, these career workshops, you know the importance of the blueprint. You also know the importance of having a study plan. That's just simply a schedule that helps you keep on track, helps you review and study the test content you might want to go back and look at. And this is a plan that will guide you through that test skills training. Let's learn about the blueprint. This is an overall of the entire GK. Notice it's a series of 4 individual tests like we mentioned, and every one is different. Now some folks, they go ahead and they plan, these teachers and teacher candidates will just schedule 2 days to take the entire exam. I think that's still possible. You're going to have to want to check with your test administrator. Make sure that they're not going to charge you for taking 2 tests too. That's a good point. Now your GK math test down there at the bottom, it has 40 questions. And you get 100 full minutes, so over 2 minutes allotted for each question. This is not all one big test. This is a standalone test, so you can put yourself on a pace for success knowing that you have over 2 minutes per question. Now our first step now, though, is to go ahead and identify the types of math questions you can expect to encounter on the test. Now, not what types of questions. We know they're all multiple choice, formatted multiple choice. We're going to identify each math competency on which the questions are built. Here's how we do that. We isolate each competency in the quizzes like this. Taking quizzes based on each competency then provides you feedback, and it points you in a direction you might want to review and study. Have you noticed, though, that one of these competencies is not included on the general knowledge test? Anybody, can you see which one it is? Back there, go ahead. I'll repeat for the people listening in. That's right, teaching, right. Instructional strategies is not a competency included on this test. It is on the subject area test, but not on the GK. So let's take a closer look at each competency that is included, beginning up there with numbers. You'll find in the test information guide that these are the main concepts associated with numbers. Proving your competency with numbers also includes proving your knowledge of place value, rounding, and estimating. So let's take a quick look at a couple of sample questions based on this competency. All right, first take a quick look at this one to see if it's clear why it's numbers. All right, fractions, there you go. Let's take a look at another one. What do you see here? Percents, fractions, decimals, right. How about one more? Can you tell just from the answers? Sure you can, and there's dozens of these types of questions in the quizzes over at the training center. All right, so you can check your knowledge on this competency. I think you'll be in pretty good shape here. The next competency then is algebra. This is one of the easiest ones to identify. Maybe not the easiest to solve, but it is easy to identify. And so how can you tell if it's an algebra question? Well, there's going to be some variables in there, or maybe some equations. Here's another example. Algebra, right? This is also an example of one you would want to mark and save because there's just too many steps. You wouldn't want to have to go spend too much time on this one. We'll talk about that another time. Here's another example. You just don't want to slow your momentum getting stuck on these. We'll talk about that, like I said, in just a moment. Another type of algebra question involves the coordinate plane. Now you probably remember this from middle school and high school, right? Do you remember why? Why is there a need in mathematics for the coordinate plane to get people started in mathematics? Well, math can explain movement. So let's think about it. If 0 is in the middle, it's your starting point, what do you need to know to get to that point marked up there in the corner? You need to know where you are. So you need to know your position, and then you need to know where you're going. So algebra can help you do that. Remember ordered pairs and slope? Remember this? Ordered pairs is the position you're in. The slope is the direction you're moving. Again, there's a quiz designed just to test your knowledge in this competency. You'll have no problem with this once you've looked at it a few. You'll start to remember. The next competency then is geometry. And if you had to explain geometry to elementary students in just one word, what would you say? What's geometry all about? There you go. Shapes. Exactly. So let's look at some sample questions. Here's an answer set. Even without the stem, without the question at the top, it's clear that this is a question based on geometry. Right? Here's another example. Pretty obvious that this is also a geometry question. I think we have one more here. All right, definitely geometry. The next competency is measurement. There are several approaches to determining if this question is based on measurement, but the one word that defines this competency is units. That's what you're measuring. Think about the units being measured. Like these. What about weight, for example? Distance or speed, rates of time, that sort of thing. There you go. Here's some examples of measurement questions. Okay, height, weight, distance, and speed. All right, here's the first sample question. You remember these? This is a common conversion question. Here's the more complicated but classic somebody took a trip question. This might be you'd want to mark and save this one maybe and come back to it the next pass through. Here's an interesting example of a measurement question. But notice that this question is a combination of geometry, a shape, that you're being asked to measure. So really this is a geometry question if you think about it, because you have to know something about the shape. But in either case, you know exactly what they're asking here. So there's the first 4 competencies. Do you remember what the 5th competency was? Go ahead and talk about it at your tables. Not out loud. Yeah, okay. But anyway, talk about this at your tables. Talk about that 5th competency and be ready to explain what types of questions might be included that were based on that competency. All right, for those of you joining us here today live online, share your thoughts and we'll include them in the discussion. And if you're joining us on the Test Camp YouTube channel on demand, this might be a good time to pause the recording and think about that last competency, which, by the way, is data. Okay? Do you remember what test content would be included in data? And we'll be here when you restart the video. I'm sure we came up with a 5th competency. Everybody has it right. All right, we finished the discussion on that. Everybody has the 5th competency, which is data, correct? So here at the test camp, we learned to identify these types of questions easily because all they are is a report of facts. That's all it is. Here's the first example. If a data question reports facts from the past or from the present, I know I'm talking over this, so let me say it again. If it's reporting the past or the present instead of facts, it's reporting, yes, that's right, good up here, statistics. All right, there's an example. If a data question is using facts to predict the future, like this, what's it called? There, you see the word in there, the probability, right. Now, many data questions are easy to identify because they include images or graphs or tables, charts, right, lists. Now here's another example right there. How about this one? So during your training, you learn how to mark and save questions like these on your first pass through the test. Oftentimes, the main concept of a data question is how to determine central tendency. What does this mean? Do you remember? What's in the middle? There you go. Remember these terms: mean, median, and mode. So here's an example of a data question related to central tendency. In a few minutes, we're going to discuss the best resources for reviewing and studying for this test, which includes a review of mean, median, and mode. It's not difficult. It's just you haven't done it in a long time for a lot of us. So that's a brief overview of the main competency areas, or the types of questions you can expect on your test. Now that you know each competency, what's going to be your approach to getting ready for this test? All right, think about this. Which of these competencies would you choose if the entire test could be taken just on one competency? Let's talk about this. What do you consider to be your least challenging and your most challenging areas? All right, we'll come back with your ideas in just a few minutes. Hey again, for you folks joining us today live online, share your thoughts and we'll include them in the discussion. And if you're joining us on demand, this might be a good time to pause that recording and think about your study plan here. We'll pick up the discussion when you restart the video. Okay, here we go. Back up here. We decided there's no really best approach to this, but in any case, we agreed that we haven't seen this material in a while, right? So we do plan to at least go back and review and maybe study for the test. All right, so what do you know about the percent to pass? Because that's what determines the total number of correct answers needed to pass the test. Well, it's 72%. That is correct. And most tests like this, it is in the low 70s. So does that seem kind of high or does that seem kind of low? What are you thinking? Remember that this is not a test created by a teacher who's trying to teach you the math. If it were, the percent required to pass would be likely pretty much higher. All right, so let's do some math using the Florida test as an example. There's 40 questions, passing score. So what are you going to get there? How many you got to get correct? 7 times 4, a little more than that. How many correct answers? 29. There you go. Now, why is that important to know that? Is because that means you can miss at least 10. See how that works? So you don't need to answer every question on the first pass through the test. Yes, a professional test taker, somebody who knows how to do this, knows to focus on those questions they can answer with efficiency. And this is a pass-fail test, so the objective, just go find your 29. All right, so to prepare for this test, you've joined this workshop and you gain knowledge about what to expect. But another way to prepare is to select the tools you might need, the best and most reliable resources for guaranteeing your success. So expect to see this sign along the pathways during your test skills training. These are the encouraging messages that are posted from those who have gone before you. In this case, the message is about avoiding spending your time and avoiding spending your money on expensive resources. You just don't need them. This test goes through 8th grade math. Commercial webinars, these are a good example. Avoid paying for free test information and free strategies. You don't have to pay for that. Expensive tutors and tutoring companies, that might be an option for a more challenging test. And beware of overpriced study guides is what they're saying. Some people have paid a lot of money for study guides that are sold for profit. Many study guides are available either free or inexpensive for sure. We'll show you just in a couple minutes a couple of them. And a more effective and inexpensive resource is a textbook. Now that you know the competencies being tested, use textbooks to review and study the test content. Now over at the Training Center in My Resources area, you can expect to find the most popular and up-to-date tools. Again, many resources are either free or very inexpensive. And you can see there that the study guide for this thing is under $5. Some of the used ones $3. How about that? I've seen some for $40 and $50, haven't you? Yeah, in the stores. All right. So what you can do, instead of spending money on that, spend money on yourself. Invest in yourself. Practice your test skills. Expect to gain confidence and personal independence on your own. Your pass to the test camp provides admission to all the training sites that you see up here. We started already. That first one's called My Test. That's an activity that enables you to check your understanding of the test blueprint and everything we've discussed here today in this workshop. There's also a pre-test and a post-test in there. This is the test camp problem solving system. The first step to finding the correct answer is to identify what we started here doing here today. Identify the question based on the competency. Quizzes and tests are available too. These provide an opportunity to practice your test skills while assessing your test content knowledge. And the quizzes are all based, like we mentioned before, on the competencies. Yes, go ahead. Yes, so if you take a quiz 3 in geometry, you can take that up to 3 times. All the questions will be random each time, so will the answers. But when you take the test, let me move on to that next slide, everything will be mixed together. So it's like the regular test that you're going to see. The tests are constructed with the features like you can expect on test day. So as you complete the training activities, you can earn points also towards a professional test certificate. If you're interested in that, that guarantees your success. Then expect to perform with confidence. The confidence that comes from the knowledge and the skills that you earn during the training. All right? There's no better time than now to empower your test confidence.